Hi, and welcome to another installment of our summer open house series. My name is Jason Pate. I'm a student advisor here at Berklee Music. I'm an alumnus of the Berklee College of Music here in Boston as well, and glad you're joining us today. Before I introduce our guests, I'd like to give you an overview of how today's open house is going to work. Our guest professor has about a 20-minute bass lesson for you, and immediately after the lesson, we'll have about 10 minutes of time for your questions. I recommend sending your questions in as they're fresh on your mind, and we'll try to get through as many as we can, so keep them coming. Joining us today is Professor Danny Morris. He is no stranger to Berklee. He's an alumnus of the campus as well, and for over the course of 23 years, he has worked with thousands of students in the bass department. Danny instructs and is the author of the R&B bass course with Berklee Music. He also co-authored and is the instructor for Bass Performance 101 with Berklee Music. Danny gigs regularly with the band Calypso Hurricane and was the bass player for the James Montgomery Blues Band, the John Poussette Dart Band, and he's also performed with artists like Bo Diddley, Robin Ford, James Cotton, Paula Abdul, and many others. Welcome, Danny.
Welcome.
Thanks for joining us today.
It's great to be here. Thank you very much.
So tell us a bit about how you started playing bass, and immediately after you can go right into the lesson.
Okay. I was a trumpet major all through grade school and into my first year of college, and my roommate had a Fender bass in the corner, and I picked it up one day and just started playing along with records, and I kind of liked it. I liked the grid, the map. You know, in trumpet you have to think of every note with a different fingering, and it just felt right. And I quickly gravitated towards the bass and learned as many songs as I could in a short amount of time. And once I knew the E string and the A string, I was able to gig. No, that's a joke out of a movie. But besides that, you're close.
Yeah.
But the thing is, learning songs is a wonderful thing. And so I started doing that. And I've always played piano. And whenever I'm in the company of a good keyboard player, I'm just asking tons of questions. I'm really a big pain in the butt. You know, what'd you do there?
Sure.
And that's how I've learned voicings and harmony, and that helps with understanding songs and song form. And that just leads to, I think I've been playing this around 35 years now. And this is the first bass I ever bought. It's a 1965 Fender Precision bass with flat wound strings. And they've been on here around 15, 16 years. I put foam here. If the flat wounds weren't dull enough, this deadens it even more. So you get a muted tone, which is what I like. I really like rhythm and blues and soul music, reggae music, and this seems to be the timbre that I dig. And I guess we can cut into the lesson.
Yeah.
When I work with you in either Bass Performance 101 or R&B bass, I'm listening. I'm listening immediately to what you sound like, and you get to hear what I sound like, and that starts our camaraderie. And it doesn't take more than a minute, really, during the first chat session, that we all seem to be psyched to be with one another and working about all the different components to bettering your musicianship skill. And these two courses are packed with information on how to get you sounding as good as you can. You know, we're all unique. We all walk down the street differently. We all play bass differently. And I've had the pleasure of having this job for quite a while, and listened to a whole lot of bass players. And you get comfortable, I get comfortable suggesting ideas to you out of love and affection, so that you can better your skill on the bass, better your skill as a musician. Timbre, you know, the first time you play, that sound, the quality of your sound, that defines a big part of your personality that you're going to contribute on a track. So I try to talk with you about that. This is my sound, but many people use round wound strings that are very bright. It's a personal preference. You know, this is what this Fender sounds like. That's a Jill Scott tune that a good buddy of mine, Wendelin, turned me on to. If you're out there, Wendelin, thank you. I love you. It's called Do You Remember? Anyhow, that gets back to learning songs and learning musical progressions. That's what we have to do as bass players. How long is a form? Is it 8 bars of the verse, and then that 8 bars is repeated, and then we go to the chorus? How do you do that? That's what we talk about in Bass Performance 101, and R&B bass. Also, the components to harmony, tonality. Say we have a C chord, a C minor chord. There's your C minor arpeggio. So in one of the lessons, we work with inverting those ideas. Okay, and that gets your fretboard geography together. That's the thing that attracted me to bass. I just love this thing, how symmetrical it is, and it's kind of like GPS. It's a map, and after 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 years, you finally get it. But I'm learning something new every day, and I learn from listening to you all when you post assignments. That's what's great about the course. Every week you post, I send you out a play along, and then you post back to me an MP3, and I listen to it and suggest things that are going to work for you. I suggest practice routines. In fact, let's cut to a practice routine. Here's one that I do with Bass Performance 101. It's week 1, and it's just, we call it Make It Funky. And it's a progression that goes from D minor, kind of in the James Brown style of music, 1 chord with a simple groove pocket, over and over, and then you'll hear count off to the bridge, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the typical bridge goes to the 4 chord. So here we are in D, D minor, and the bridge is going to go to the 4 chord, okay? We'll listen to the track a little bit, and then I'll come in.
1, 2, 3, 4.
There's the chord. That's me on piano and programmed drums. But listen to that bass drum. That's not going to change, so I could play with it. End of a 4-bar section.
The bridge, here we go.
We're going to go to the 4 chord.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Right there, I left a hole. My favorite musical component is a rest, where you don't play, okay? At that point, the drums really come into the view of the listener. See? All right, cool. We could chill on that. When you post that assignment, first I ask you to play a repetitive part, okay? Or something like this. And that's on bar 4. So much music that we work on is symmetrical and binary in shape, meaning you have 4-bar, 8-bar, 16-bar, 32-bar sections. So it's how to acquaint yourself with those sections as they move by. That's what the song needs. It needs structure, and that's what we do as bass players. We're that, we're the framework. As you walk down the street, say we're here in Boston, beautiful architecture all around. There's not that many people admiring the steel beams that are you know, the foundation of the building. But as bass players, that's kind of what you got to do. Isn't that crazy?
Absolutely, yeah.
So we're our own breed of people. But that's why we have this camaraderie right from the get-go.
Yeah.
You know, and in getting back to you posting your assignment, I'm listening to see how you center yourself with that snare drum pattern, okay, with that kick drum pattern, with the natural groove of the music. Here's another one that we do in R&B bass. This is called Groove Me. Okay, this is more syncopated,
1,
meaning
2,
there's a lot of stuff
1,
on the
2,
upbeat.
3, 4.
See, that's the 1 chord. Here's the 5 chord. Just listening to everything around me as I play this syncopated part. And now we're going to move up to the flat 3. And then anchor it down again. And then a little twist here, the 6 chord. And then back. Okay, cool, thanks. So sometimes I recommend counting like this. Here's the quarter note, 1, 2, 3, 4. If we subdivide the quarter note into eighth notes, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So this part is boom, 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 boom. See, it's on the up. So when I hear you play, I'm able to suggest, you know, breathe a little bit longer. Sometimes I'll say, imagine you put on 20 pounds, you know, make it harder to play that note. Some people have a tendency to rush. You know, I recommend subdividing. Sometimes subdividing not only eighth notes, but 16th notes. Okay, as we get on in the R&B course, I have a practice routine for you that involves playing on the 1 E and 2 E, see, 3 E and then 4 E and This is kind of a complex workout, but you know, practice routines are just that. The more time you spend with them, I think the more you can accomplish. I was never one to practice 8 hours a day. I don't know how people do that, but God bless them if they can, because I'm sure you'll get a lot out of it. I was more like practice for half an hour, put it away, a couple hours later, practice again, and I would achieve my reps that way. So here's the 16th note, etude, that I put together. So I'm going to play on the downbeat, on the E, on the and then the 1 E and That's the subdivision. And I often use a comment to have you focus on subdivision as a way to get your groove together. All right, so here's this one.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, cool, thanks. That last one ends on the 4 E and 1. Very popular kick drum pattern. Bass drum pattern is ba-boom, ba-boom. So we have that there, ba-boom, 3, 4, ba-boom. You know, when I played trumpet, I used to count with my throat, like that. Sometimes I do that as a way to stay centered with the time, but really working on your groove is a huge component to getting your musicianship skill better. So often I'll refer to in my comments the 4 T's. Rich Appleman, who co-wrote Bass Performance 101 with me, uses that all the time in his teaching. Time, timbre, tonality, and taste. So time, that's what we just did, that's a practice routine. Tonality, getting familiar with playing the root of a chord. Here we played on that Groove Me. The 3rd, the 5th, the 6th, and the octave. Okay, there's many ways of acquiring skill in terms of tonality. I mean, we have scales. I'm going to eschew the scales today, and we're just going to stick with bass lines. But we have exercises that deal with that. I mean, I like dividing up lessons, some rudiments, and then a lot of playing, a lot of bass parts. In terms of taste, man, that's all you. Your personality is going to come out in your playing. That's why I've been telling you to switch to bass. You know, you'll be great.
Yeah,
You're a
yeah.
lead singer.
Yeah.
Because as a bass player, you can lead the band. You can steer the band in mysterious ways. So I would think as a singer and bass player, you'd have a lot of control.
Totally.
You know, it could be subliminal,
Yeah.
but still it's there because you could control. You could put in a little bit of mustard, a little bit of sauce, and that'll push going into the chorus.
Yeah.
And then you'll settle it back down going into the verse because the band will feel where you're putting your downbeat. You know, at the end of that Groove Me part, we were on that 6th note. See, if I put in, maybe I want to slow the band down, right? So I go, Just tweak it back a little bit. I've been messing around with Pro Tools, GarageBand, Logic Pro Tools lately, and experimenting with moving parts. People have been doing this for years. I'm just late in the learning curve, but it's really fun. You know how you could take a snare drum and just back it up a little bit, and I think that's how a lot of recordings are achieving an interesting vibe. But you don't necessarily have to just move. You can move it while you play.
Sure.
So that's we'll work on that.
All right.
You know? But this forum of online teaching is so fantastic. I mean, I had no idea how powerful it would be. But the key is that we listen to each other so often because we're posting to each other every week. In fact, this semester, I'm taking the course again. So I post an assignment along with the students each week. And you guys give me feedback, and I love it. You know, it's an exchange. It's an exchange of information, and man, I hope you come on board. It'll be really fun working with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Danny.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So we'll get to answering some of your questions now. You talked about the bass player's role in the band as essentially the person responsible for laying down the framework for a tune. We have a question from, give me 1 second here. We have a question from Christopher, who happens to be a bass player and a drummer.
Okay.
He wants to know, I know that playing one makes me better than the other, but do you have any tips on that?
Playing one makes me better.
He thinks that playing one instrument makes him better than the other.
I thought the
Does
beat
he...
one.
No.
But I'm flashing to when, you know, we had the pleasure, Bootsy Collins came on campus.
Okay.
And I got the most amazing phone call from Rich Appleman because he said, I can't make dinner with him. Can you go to dinner with Bootsy? I said, okay, sure, I can go to dinner with Bootsy. And all throughout dinner, he kept saying, the one.
I see.
And the way to find, so I'll get, Christopher, thanks for bringing that up, the one. Because the way to find one, and Bootsy taught this to us, when you listen to those great Funkadelic records, you could hear it's so solid.
Sure.
It's not one, it's 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 1. That's how you find one. See, and 1.
Yeah,
That's how you get there. And from listening to each other, we really focus on arriving at a nice sweet spot. But again, everybody plays differently. I have 20 people in any given section. Within those 20, no one plays the same. Everyone either has a different timbre or a different lilt, you know?
Sure.
That's what I said before. Everybody kind of walks differently. But man, no, Christopher, play as many instruments as you can. I got a drum set last year. I'm working on it.
Yep.
You know, play as many different instruments as you can, because I think if you could play music from a bird's eye view, which is essentially a producer's vantage point, looking down at all the parts and imagining how you want the music to come out to the listener, to the audience, I think that's the way to play. And in essence, when you play like that, you don't spend too much time listening to yourself, because it's an ensemble.
Sure.
You know, it's a group experience. So yeah, play everything, for sure.
Awesome. We have another question from Jill. She wants to know about the Bass Performance 101 class. She wants to know if it's basic enough for someone who's never picked up a bass in their life.
Absolutely. Pick it up. We'll show you the E. We'll show you the A. Jill, we're going to get you gigging. Yeah, it's sure. We could make that work for you. The beauty of the course is there's people from all over the world sharing experiences, but bass is the kind of instrument that we could get you playing in no time. You know, besides, well, Make It Funky is the first assignment for Bass Performance 101. So with that groove, can you put that on again? Listen to this pocket, Jill.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And 1. And 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And 1, and 3, and 4. And 1. Maybe a little funkier. And. Okay? So if you could do that, you come right on board. You know, just get a decent instrument. Cool. That works. Tune it up and let's get playing. Yeah, bass is that kind of an instrument.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. We have professionals in the course who, for one reason or another, you know, they have downtime in the hotel room, whatever. They take the course and they do amazing posts. And this is amazing, I think, because everybody could feel it. You know what I mean? That's it's all bass is, as I said, it's a funny instrument. It's, you know, the type of thing with bass is if you play a great gig, no one will say anything. Okay? If you play a couple of wrong notes and mess up some forms, they'll talk to you. So you're going to go home at night after a bass gig and feel good about what you did to make the whole vibe in that club or in that recording session or just that basement where you were jamming. You could feel good about that you were the solid foundation that the house was built on. You know, they say the primary function of the bass is to keep time. And that's true. Ray Brown was quoted as saying that.
Yeah.
One of my great influences, the jazz bassist Ray Brown.
Goes back to what you were talking about, laying the framework for the course sometimes, or for the song. Sometimes you just have to play the rhythm and the simple notes.
Yeah. You know what? Also, the first scale that Rich and I use in Bass Performance 101, Jill, getting back to your question, is the chromatic scale, which is half steps. Okay, so if we were on D, this would be a chromatic idea. Okay, and Bass Player Magazine recently did an article on the bass player who played on that tune. That's the way, I like it. And I always admired that tune because this is the bass line. Chromatic line, okay? You'd never know it, but then you sing. Can you sing the lead to it? That's the way,
I like it, that's the way,
See, we got
I like it. Yeah.
Without that line, say I just went like this. Doesn't have the same personality. And in the article, the guy, I can't remember his name, I wish I could, he said he had to sell that line to the band. They didn't believe that silly little chromatic line was going to make the difference. But
Less is more.
yeah, less is more. It's incredible, you know.
Cool. We have a few more questions here. We got a question from Jansen, who wants to know about approaching to scale and chord tones, and wants to know in the electric bass. So, what's a good approach to scale and chord tones exercises on an electric bass that can help to do jazz solos?
Jazz solos?
Yeah.
Well, it's a real honor to take a solo. And I got to tell you, to get the gig, you have to learn how to walk that bass and play forms. Then, just maybe you'll get to be asked to take a solo, and then it's a wonderful experience. You know, it's like telling a story. So you mentioned scale tones, chord tones, and then people use upper structure ideas, notes out of the key, and that they're called tensions. And so, say I have a pattern, a C chord, okay, C major to D minor. The first thing I like to do with a solo is don't play the root. Here's a time where perhaps the bass player can get away from his or her traditional role, and I might start on the fifth, which is a beautiful note. So we have this. Okay, and now I get the green light for the solo. Short solo, but it's a short little story, you know? And it's funny, the more you study theory, that G against the C, that's the fifth, but when I played the D minor, the G turns into the fourth or the 11th, which is a beautiful, we call that a natural tension, a whole step above the minor third. See, here's D minor, root, flat third, fifth, octave. Here's the second, here's the flat third, and here's the fourth. Okay, if I had a piano and I could play that all at once, you'd hear the polyphony. The funny thing with bass is, you know, it's primarily mono, one note at a time. But I would say tell a story, certainly work with your scales. If I start on any degree of them, the fifth degree, the fourth degree, third degree, second degree, you know, and then you have the facility to tell your story. But I think you're going about it a great way. Learn your scale tones, learn your chord tones, and then play around with other notes because they'll be dramatic, simply because they're not chord tones.
Sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we have time for just one more question here.
All right.
And this will be good for those that are interested in the Bass Performance 101 class. This question is from Key West Harpist. I would like to know more about which fingers to use. I have small hands.
Okay. Not a problem. First of all, there are small scale, short scale necks that aren't maybe as wide as the Fender Precision. If you have small hands, maybe I would start with a 4-string bass like this. And I actually play with a one-finger technique. You know, so one finger moving all around like that, I would suggest to strengthen your hands, just like you would stretch before you ran or played tennis, my second favorite thing to do. Ideas like this. I spend countless hours watching sports on television, doing this. And do it with a groove. So I can hear a drum beat. You're working on your groove, you're stretching your hands, and then just learn songs. Learn songs, it'll work. There's people all shapes and sizes can play the bass. You know, the thing is just to strengthen your hands and develop some calluses. that'll happen naturally. No biggie, you can do it.
Awesome. Thanks, Danny. Thanks for joining
My
us
pleasure.
today.
Really fun spending time with you. Hope to see you in the course. It's a wonderful forum to learn and share. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
All right, man.